right, guys, so first up, we have 3 awesome games. We have Blind Descent coming from Owlcat. We have Deep Dish Dungeon coming from Behold and Raw Fury, as well as an exclusive interview with the Dawnwalker creative director.
Must be here somewhere.
A Dawnwalker is like a special kind of being in our IP. It's neither fully a vampire nor a human. It's something in between. What this means is basically that you, as a Dawnwalker, you have underwent a transformation. You used to be human. And now, during the nighttime, you do get all the powers and the difficulties of being a vampire. So you get the blood craving and so on. But during daytime, these powers are dormant and you still have to eat. You have all the weaknesses of a human, right? But also the perks of being human. One of the things that is unique to humans in our IP is being able to use magic, so casting spells. The Dawnwalkers are not very commonplace in that IP. They are very, very rare, rarer than vampires. So you as a Dawnwalker are kind of special in this regard. I would say the short-term things that have immediate impact on the character development are you have to feed on, either animals or humans on blood suddenly, right? So you get these cravings, you get these like weird, eerie experiences that you didn't have as a human. Brancis and his clique of vampires actually caught him on his low point when he was vulnerable. He has used specific traits of vampiric blood in order to cement his position in the valley. Because, as you might imagine, having a bloodsucker as your lord might be a tough sell. However, if the alternative is getting sick and, dying in thousands, actually it doesn't sound as such a horrible thing. He tries to kind of distort the religious beliefs in order to install himself as a savior of the valley. We do explore this in the game, so you might see, like, for example, statues erected to Brancis, new iconography shown in the local cathedral, for example, and in the castle and so on. There is this whole cult of personality he builds around himself. So he basically shows himself as something better than the old order, right? We do have a mechanic tied to shrines that are erected across the valley. And Brancis puts a lot of attention to kind of twist them to his own image. And these do have a functionality. When you play the game, we have assigned specific functions to them. Generally speaking, one of the things we wanted to achieve in this game is to have Brancis being this active antagonist. In a lot of games, the antagonists are out there to be defeated, but generally speaking, you have free reign, you do your own thing, and it doesn't really, change much in how they approach you. In this game, what we wanted to do is to have Brensis react to your actions as you complete different activities throughout the valley, as you maybe undermine his operations and so on.
It's kind of like his seal of approval.
Exactly. So it's like, so basically the way you can think about it is like the more you do in the valley, especially if you undermine Brensis, you will gain notoriety. The more notorious you are, the more edicts Brensis will pass in order to thwart you. So for example, he might send out more soldiers to patrol roads and villages, right? He might, in some extreme cases, maybe even initiate a lockdown of the city to basically hamper your ways of traversing it, right? There is a number of these edicts we have prepared, and each of them is designed to kind of twist and change the general open world gameplay. It also has benefits. There are factions in the valley that dislike Brensis, so the more notoriety you gain, the better standing with them you get, like they actually like that. There is a number of plot lines that you can follow if you want. You can also cut them off because we have added these systems where, for example, you might lose control over Cohen when he's a vampire if he was hungry. You might kill off some important NPCs and then the plotline just cuts off basically, or you get some alternative version. There are some ways to enter the castle in the open world. You can ignore these side plotlines. You can level up Cohen and decide to attack the castle on your own, right?
Out of curiosity, is there romance in the game?
Romance, yes, of course. We do have romance options, yes. We didn't delve deep into like with whom yet.
Okay.
And I'll leave that for the future to talk about. However, yes, you can expect to build relationships with characters. Like I said, there is like one main goal, very varying ways to get to it. These different ways that you pick will impact, what happens with Veil Sangora in the end. And it's all up to you. And I think I really recommend experimenting with this stuff and having fun with it.
For the next section, we have 3, again, I'm gonna have to not say incredible games every single time, but we have Prologue, Go Wayback from PlayerUnknown, Beautiful Light from Deep Worlds, and Project Shadowglass from Starhelm Studios.
It's just an infinite map generator with some game loops on top of it. So you have a survival loop, which is pretty hard. Get to the weather tower, we give you a map and a compass and not much else. Some basic survival mechanics, and it's a game against yourself more than anything else and kind of the decisions you make. Then we also have just objective survive, which is just see how long you can last in the world, and free roam for those that just like a hike. The differentiator, or the thing that makes a difference, is that we can generate essentially infinite maps of 8x8 scale. Like we have a map editor in the game and stuff like that, but we want to be able to give you the ability to give a deep link to someone. So I can just send you like a HTTP link that starts up the game, loads a map and a seed, and I can share stuff I've built with you with just a link, right? So it's kind of, Go Wayback is just, it's a technological experiment or proving some technology we've developed. It's no longer an experiment, it's in production, so it works. But it's also going back to my love of survival games and those kind of emergent, just, I'm not giving anyone missions to do, it's just get there, and how you get there is fully up to you. Basically, if you play the same seed, you get the same weather, I'm pretty sure you get the same cabin layout, and you maybe get the same loot. So you and 4 friends could technically race to the weather tower and see who gets there first, because you have the same conditions. And while we don't have multiplayer yet, you have this kind of asynchronous multiplayer that, as long as you can share the seed with people. And I thought, wouldn't that be a cool thing for events where you have 16 streamers and see how long they can survive in objective survive mode, right? Or see who can race to the weather tower quickest, or we can set up the weather just to get progressively colder and see who lasts the longest. There's a weather tower on top of one of the higher points on the map. It's generally the other side of the map. We do have prompts now that tell you what to do in the world. But yeah, there's some simple survival mechanics. Keep yourself warm, keep yourself dry, light fires, board up windows, keep your body in a good temperature, get across the map. And we don't tell you where you are on the map, except when you find a new map in the world and it updates your position, you're left for basic navigation. It's kind of set in the 80s, so you don't have digital GPS, stuff like that. I want to make sure that the worlds we're generating have enough depth that when we add story and mission and quest-based content, that the worlds feel like coherent and real enough that it makes sense. Like, I want to have pathing. I want to have like infrastructure, like telephone lines, this kind of stuff. So the cabins aren't just random cabins in the forest, that there seems to be some like, you know, logical placement of stuff in the world. And once we have those in, then we can more easily go, well, okay, you need to connect all the substations to bring power to the weather tower so you can get a message or go and do various things. Right now, there's a bunch of cabins and there's survival mechanics, but we want to add a lot more depth to the environment. Preface is a tech demo. That I always said I wanted to release a free tech demo of the engine we're building, and that's what Preface is. And the kind of poetic thing is that my last game will be Preface, because it'll just be a visualization of what's possible with our engine at that time. And it's more like Minecraft Survival, that it's an example of what you can do with the engine, and it'll be open source and free for everyone, so you can do whatever you want. So having this kind of digital space, like an internet in 3D, I don't see anyone working towards that. I see small bubbles, but I don't see anyone really trying to do Earth-scale terrain with millions of people. And that's kind of the bigger goal, and that's why we've broken it down into 3 games. The aim is that you should be able to do anything from 10 by 10 to 100 by 100 with 5v5 or 100v100 relatively easily and not have any problems. We will build maybe an Earth-scale terrain, maybe smaller, with hopefully a network layer that supports millions of people. That will be kind of a survival civilization MMO type game. But again, that's just one layer of the world. Like, I want you to be able to just jump around the world and see what's happening, because you should be able to, like, I think if you want to interact with the world, there should be a layer of survival you have to do, or a layer of gameplay in order to kind of leave your impression on the world.
Quebec Charlie to Quebec Romeo Foxtrot. We got your location report. We are monitoring you in the operation zone. Good luck. Over.
In a world where pixels were once only 2D, now they're 3D. Oh, I'm just with you. I'm Dominic John, the dev behind Project Shadowglass, a 3D pixelated RPG that's a love letter to classic immersive sims like Thief and System Shock. This video is a series of prototype rooms that I've been working on some of the core systems in. No art, no assets will be generated by AI. This is all human-made, hand-placed, made by me and artists like me because we love what we do. headphones, I would highly suggest wearing them. All the audio in Project Shadowglass is going to be 3D, and not just 3D, but simulated. The music emanating from this orb is going into the left ear and the right ear, but as I change the size of the space, you can hear the character of the sounds change. And if we go around the wall, we can still hear it coming from the opening in each ear. Launched the Shadowglass Discord today, so if you have any ideas or suggestions or just want to follow along, feel free to wishlist Project Shadowglass on Steam. I hope you enjoyed this sneak peek on how things are coming along. Thank you so much, all the crew at New Game Plus, for having me. Be well, my friends.
This section, we have three, what I would consider kind of sci-fi games a little bit, but we have Aphelion from Don't Nod, which we have an incredible look behind the scenes of the music with the composer themselves, as well as the Expanse Osiris Reborn from Owlcat. If you're familiar with the Expanse, super exciting, and also Distant Shores, BRETAGNE.
My name is Amin Bouafa. I'm a film music composer, and I am the composer for Aphelion, the video game. I remember having a message from Talal saying that he loved the score of Summit of the Gods, and they are working on a new video game, and inviting me to come to the studio and to meet the team. It was very important for me to understand how the music would be interactive. So how to compose, how to write music that would be interactive, with models, with stems, with separating the different elements, and at the same time, how could the music, how the structure of the music would be an evolving structure. It was very important for me first to have the story of Ariane and Thomas, like that the log line is the story, both of them, so there is a theme that conveys this emotional relationship between them. And then the frozen aspect of the music. I mean, for me, it was very important first to feel the cold in the music, to feel the wind, to feel the ice. It's an instrument that had been invented by the Bachet brothers in the mid-20th century. For me, it looks like an alien instrument. When you see it, cannot even predict that it's a musical instrument. To play the instrument, you need to get your hands in water and then rub crystal buttons that are in this metal structure could convey this frozen identity of the score, and at the same time having this magical sense of in the score. There is a sacred feeling also to this planet. It's a huge planet, but I wanted to get this huge instrument and that it could also play very soft. The organ has a lot of sounds. It could be very soft, it could be very aggressive, it could be large, it could be intimate. For me, it's the planet. The planet could be very welcoming and suddenly very, very dangerous and very sacred at the same time. So I thought that the organ could give this majestuous feeling to the score. I'm so happy to write the music for Aphelion. It's the first time for me to write a video game score, and it's a lot of fun and a lot of passion.
We had some discussions at the early stages of the production, to be honest, whether to go fully class system or something else. And again, we started with sitting down and lining up what are possible ways that the player might perceive the game. The power fantasies, how he can express himself in combat. So he might want to be a sniper, he might want to be a hacker, maybe an engineer, something else. As we designed those playstyles, we thought how to mix it up a bit, how to let player to experiment with what he encounters during the game. So, for example, when he finds a neat shoulder cannon, as we shown in the announcement trailer, even if he is a sniper, he might want to experiment with that. Why not? It fits the universe, it fits the playstyle. He might want to see how it works. And so we decided why not to give him the possibility to do that. That was the idea behind the playstyle. So playstyle is basically the starting preset that kind of gently guides you towards the certain direction of your power fantasy of how you play the game. At some point, the player will need to commit to his choices. So again, it's an important part of the choices system, you know. If you just can switch everything on the fly, that kind of makes your choices less important. So at some point you need to stick to particular guns, particular gadgets, and you just build around them. We give you some time to experiment, but you will need to commit. During the character creation, you will have to choose between three major factions, your origin, so you'll be either Belter or Earther or Martian. Facial customization, appearance, you can choose your body type.
So you will be playing as a Pinkwater mercenary with different type of origin that you would create. You will have your sibling with the same, like, identical one. They will look a little bit different because they're their own person, they have their own personality. These events are set during the first 3 books, I think. You will start on Eris and witness basically the events from a different angle, and this part will be to some degree shown in your character creation.
Every companion should belong somewhere in the universe, and they have their own background, consisting of their faction and their acquaintance, they have some background story, their own struggles. All this stuff will influence how they perceive the situations player encounters. So in every major plot event, they will have their opinions. They might hint you towards some decisions. They might provide you some assistance, or maybe even some crucial contacts to go for help, for advice, for military support, maybe. Of course, they will have their own stories, their own struggles, and you can choose to help them, or maybe to ignore their own stories, totally depending on how you want to be invested in this particular companion. The choices you make for those companions also will matter in long term.
Yep, some of them will have romances, and you can see on our background companions.
Perfect,
We cannot
thank
say
you.
who is going to have romance, but there will definitely be romance in our game.
It's a small crew on the small ship. You know, the Expanse, it's a universe where everyone flies in very tight spaces for a very long time. So there is a dynamics in the crew as well. We have a few layers of the combat system. First of all, it's obviously the gunplay. A few classes of weapons that you can use, and mostly you do it from the covers, so it's a cover-based gunplay game. And the second layer of the combat system is that's your abilities. That they might be more like offensive ones, maybe something like a grenade or a shoulder cannon, or maybe something more defensive like a shield or maybe a protective drone. A lot of gadgets that you can choose from depending on your play style. And as Julia mentioned, there are some play styles that are mostly focused on using your gadgets rather than using your weapons. Third layer, but still very important, that's obviously your companions. They have their impact on the combat. They have what we call combat opportunities. That's particular situations when you can order your companion to use an exploit in the arena, in the environment to gain a certain advantage in combat. We decided against the management, the gameplay part of the survival stuff. So you won't be counting your gallons of reaction mass or how much water you need to recycle before it dries out, nothing like that. But still, the Expanse universe is very dangerous. So in terms of narrative, the survival will be a part of the game. You will have a tremendous enemy. You will have a lot of very dangerous situations that you will have to get out somehow. There will be a lot of survival in terms of your player experience, just not as a particular mechanic. You will be able to fly around the solar system.
Nice.
You will be able to visit various planets. We mentioned it before that we have Luna, Mars, Ceres, Io, and some other cool places to visit. And some of those places will be like major social hubs where you can just walk around, meet other people, drink at the bar, shop for better equipment and stuff like that. So you will have plenty of places to go and to visit and to look at. The Expanse universe is cruel, and some characters might die because of your choices. Stay tuned for more. We will show more very soon. Have something cooking. I hope you will like it.
Welcome back, Aaron. We trust your flight was smooth. We have landed you on the outskirts of Genyak Island. Stay alert.
Hey, Aaron, it's Thomas. You know, your brother. You said you would visit me here, but you never did. Look, bygones be bygones. Just find me in the West Zone. I'll be waiting. Sometimes I dream about what's under the ocean. A distant shore, waiting to be explored.
such a peaceful place to be seen. It's a wonderful way to be free.
Next up, we have two very exciting updates coming from Obsidian, that being some updates for Avowed as well as Grounded 2. We also got exclusive time with them and had some interviews, which were very exciting.
Avowed is a Obsidian first-person action RPG set in the world of Pillars of Eternity, where the player plays as an envoy sent by the Emperor of Adir to the Living Lands to investigate a mysterious plague that's kind of spreading throughout the lands, causing chaos, and you play as the envoy trying to figure out what's kind of going on down there. Do things that affect it in positive ways, negative ways, or in between type of ways, with that type of choice and consequence. In terms of, the post-launch things we've been supporting on it, like we've gotten a bunch of abilities added to the Ranger and Fighter trees to kind of more fill it out comparatively to the Wizard tree. Aspects about it that are like Arachnophobia mode, that was like a big community requested feature, as well as, changes to progression, improvements there, gear improvements, and as well as bug fixes and crash fixes.
And you can play now as the different species.
Yeah, we've added different species. The Amauin, Orlins, and Dwarves are now playable. A lot of our decisions we make are revolving around the player community, so we work really closely with our community management team. We get like a spreadsheet, kind of see what the things that are bubbling to the top. Like an example, like quarterstaff was something where we wanted to feel like more like a wizard, right? That kind of wizardy vibe, as well as playing as Orlins. Like I think players just were bummed that we didn't include that in the base game. So I mean, it really comes down to like the time and what the community wants, and that's kind of how we decide to go about it. Yeah.
We notice like players really role play their characters in the game, so we always want to give them as many options as we can to like customize their features or character, to kind of have this fantasy in this world as they journey through the story. We just wanted to give them as many possible options as they can to really make the character they want to make, and just make it just their own. Stuff like all the playable races, we discussed it early on in Avowed. It's something both previous Pillars games had. It's a lot of work and a difficult thing to really nail down, especially in Avowed with its parkour systems and its combat mechanics and all the weapon types and stuff like that in the game. Our different races are different sizes, they're different shapes, they're a very unique game experience when you play as each one of them in a first-person game specifically. Mm-hmm. So it was something like new to wrangle for Avowed. We had no time to finish it as we're making Avowed, and now we can give it to the players, so it's a more rounded experience compared to the original Pillars games. It should be a whole new way to play the game. If you pick an Orlin or an Amawa, it makes you feel completely different in the world, especially if you use third person or first person. It changes it again, how you feel and present in this game, so it's pretty awesome that we can finally bring that.
New Game Plus allows the player to bring over all their abilities, all their equipable gear. It does reset it back to level 1, so it's not like you're just outright OP basically, but you'll have the end game gear with all its like enchants to be able to just start the new game, as well as we have like modifiers on enemies that kind of either make them more resistant to some of the elemental types, or modifiers that make them more resistant to being stun locked or hit reacted. And that kind of gets sprinkled in kind of somewhat randomly throughout that New Game Plus experience to kind of get that added challenge, but also let the player still feel somewhat like they're accumulating their abilities over the course of multiple playthroughs. So.
We notice players like to take photos of their envoys, but it's very difficult in the game. You have to get the camera just right to get a certain distance from the character, or capture the shot in a conversation when you see your character. So this allows you to really get into it and capture some awesome shots or some scary shots, depending which way you're going.
We're super excited to announce that Avowed's finally going to come out to PS5. Pre-orders are going to be live today. Keep an eye out on our socials, and we'll announce when the store page is open.
Grounded 2 is a survival game. It is set in a gigantic city park. You play as a teenager who has been shrunken to roughly the size of an ant, and you just have to survive in this environment with, insects that are the size of a bus, and figuring out how to eat and get some water and fight those bugs and craft new materials and new weapons. As you go and gain in power and get over those initial survival challenges, you can sort of get into the story of what has really happened in this park. A number of huge updates planned for the park. This is the first big content update that we have. We've been calling it the Winter Update. It's really about adding in this next big chunk to the park, and that comes with a lot of things that are very, very exciting for us. With this Winter Update, which is the community garden, is attached right to that early picnic area. On the map, it's just to the east of it, behind the gigantic statue of Tully and Burgle. This was our opportunity to really start delving into a brand new biome with everything that entailed. You've got a vegetable garden, you've got a greenhouse, and you've got a pumpkin patch. All of these introduce a lot of new and different types of artwork and places for the player to explore. And then, of course, we need all the insects that go in these areas too. And so a ton of new insects that are in there. As I love to say, all of these insects, you can fight. Maybe they're docile and you can attack them. Many of them are aggressive and will attack you. And regardless, you fight them, learn their tactics, and then eventually turn them into fashionable attire and new weapons.
Going to a new biome, a new area in the park allows us to fully lean into what makes the park unique from the backyard. And for us, that means that mixture of really organic structures as well as that man-made touch, that this was designed by humans at human level.
Wasps are coming back, which are a lot of fun to fight, but can be kind of annoying. Again, this is a survival game, so excited about those things coming back. Black ants are also coming back too, and like with both of those, you get sets of armor and different weapons that you can craft after you've defeated these creatures. We're more excited about the new creatures that are coming in the Garden Update, though. Mm-hmm. So we developed a brand new creature in the cricket. The cricket is pretty big. Again, this is the size of a large bus, probably. It has some very unique attack combinations that are a lot of fun. It can also, of course, jump very, very far. It has its own armor sets. It has its own weapon or weapons that you can craft based upon it. And then the same thing for earwig. And we actually have two different types of earwig. There's sort of a ranged earwig and a melee earwig that tend to travel around together to thwart the player with their strategic opportunities. Again, you can turn those into armor, of course, turn them into your base furnishings. You can turn them into weapons, and we think they'll offer some exciting and unique combat opportunities.
We really want Grounded 1 players to be excited to see these creatures again, but also to be surprised and delighted by the changes. Just like we did in the picnic area, we've revamped the combat. So that means even looking at the old legacy creatures and going, okay, how do we make them a part of the system? How do we make them challenging in this new dance? How can we leverage our systems to make them more interesting? And so hopefully there's a couple of twists coming, even with the old favorites, that will keep veteran players on their toes and will surprise and delight new players.
We have a brand new buggy, the Ladybug buggy, which you'll be able to get and raise and hatch and then ride around in the yard. And we're pretty excited about all that stuff. I think all of it is coming together just really well.
I think every single Grounded player from Grounded 1 at some point jumped on the Ladybug and let it transport them around. And we often joke that was the original buggy prototype. And there's something so iconic about the Ladybug and getting on it and wanting to ride it that it felt like an inevitability for us. But what's important for us whenever we do introduce a new buggy is we don't want it to just be another one or just a horse, And so it really boiled down to what can the Ladybuggy bring to the table that the other ones weren't? What can make her stand apart and bring a utility and an experience to the player that the other buggies aren't? How can we carve out her own little niche in the game? If she's the tank, she's the one who can get into those really tough fights and withstand those large swarms of insects. And that's where the idea of the water cannon on her back, and players being able to shoot at their enemies, and that ended up providing a ton of gameplay opportunities and a really unique experience. Being able to shoot down the aerial insects that are often a bit more challenging and a bit more frustrating for players. Well, now you have this ranged weapon that you can take them down with that feels super satisfying, almost like an anti-air gun. For us, as soon as we crack that, it felt like, okay, there she is, that's her niche, and now it's just about bringing that experience to life and finding moments in the garden experience to really highlight that and let that shine for the player.
Next up, we have 3 fantasy RPG games that are looking very cool, as I would say. This is going to be Outward 2 from Nidot Studio, a follow-up to their other survival game, Outward, obviously. We have Vahrin's Call by Titan Rock, and then we also have Dragontwin by Draconic Interactive.
Outward is an open world RPG, which for once you're not some kind of special superhero or the last child from a prophecy. You're just a dude or a dudette. And the reason why we are downscaling who the player is because they want to be immersed more than they want to be powerful. And that was the big change in our approach. We made all of our design decisions to be in alignment with this vision. If you were just a regular person and you wanted to think like a human would, but in a fantasy world, it's when you are aloof, when you're just like, that's not so dangerous, I've done it before. And that's when life just snaps back at you, right? In real life, that's like that. It should be like that in the design as well. So one gigantic thing is the character creation. In Outward 1, like, we had very ugly protagonists and we didn't have a lot of options. You had like 3 skin colors, a handful of faces, a handful of haircuts, and that was it. It feels like really drawing yourself into an RPG. You choose a background, you choose traits, you have a very granular system to modify and customize your character to your liking. One of the big thing is you choose one of 3 starting locations. So as a regular person, what justifies throwing yourself into danger? How do you become an adventurer? Well, we have 3 different quests depending on which city you choose. So if you are in Simeon's Bastion, you are a homeless person, you're desperate. In Tramontane, you are a miner and you're trying to improve your status and your quality of life. In Haboob, you are just a clerk who just bought a house. What could possibly go wrong? And very mundane situations, like you're not special or anything, but something special happens to you, and then you have to live up to the situation. We want a weather system that is very dynamic. So now we have a year-long calendar with seasons, and you just go through all that. So it's going to be winter, and then it's spring, and then summer, and does change, like what kind of stuff can be found, what kind of armor you need to wear. Dual wielding is gigantic. So now you can combine anything that goes in one hand, and that opens up a lot of possibilities. In Outward 1, you had your offhand, you could only have a set amount of things, and you had your main hand. Now you can just interchange. You can have 2 shields if you want. It sucks. I don't recommend, but you can. Of course, just visually, and the fact that it's much more lush, it's more filled, it's more visually vibrant. That's going to be something that people will notice very quickly. Just like in Outward 1, we have 8 skill trees, and all those skill trees have some exclusive skills. So if you take one, can't take the other, and you have a maximum of 3 breakthrough points. So there's only 3 skill trees that you can learn from to the maximum of the capabilities. Otherwise, when you have the first few layers of skills available. One thing we added are the attribute points, the core stats. So strength, agility, constitution, willpower, intelligence. We added those. We're going to track a lot of different things that you do. They're all going to have different thresholds. So let's say you dodge attacks successfully a certain number of times, you unlock a node that will give you a passive trait and increase your agility. So very small incremental changes. We start with very simple things, and it expands us in more and more circles. So you won't be able from the very start to unlock all 3 skill trees just because you have the cash to do it. You will have to have experience. You will need to have practiced the life of danger in Ori to be able to understand, like get to the next level of the skill trees. Other than that, well, I think it's important to note that all 4 regions are new regions, so it's really just completely new environment to explore.
Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into our upcoming action RPG, Vahrin's Call. The world of Leda is entirely shrouded by darkness on one side, while scorched by endless sun on the other. These incredibly hostile areas are known as the Forsaken Realms, which, as you may have noticed, is the name of the universe we are meticulously crafting. Your first steps within the Forsaken Realms will take you to the Vale of Vahrin, a city on the brink of collapse, and the first of our narrative-focused adventures. You'll step into the boots of a lone mercenary, seeking to answer Vahrin's call for aid, and maybe earn some gold and glory along the way. It's clear that Vahrin needs a hero, and every hero needs a way to slay the countless fantastical beasts they'll encounter. Vahrin's Call aims to cater to a wide range of playstyles, offering you the freedom to combat the unknown in a variety of ways. Whether you prefer to be a nimble-footed archer, flinging fireballs between arrows, or face your foes toe-to-toe as an axe-wielding whirlwind of death, the choice is yours. The game's classless system means you're never locked into playing a specific way. You have the ability to adapt, alter, or completely switch playstyles midway through your adventure. Unlock and spend perk points to obtain new skills and abilities, and level up your mercenary's core stats by gaining character experience. Hidden chests throughout the world will reward you with a range of weapons, armor, and unique trinkets, some providing unique effects to help you gain an edge in your next combat encounter. The local hamlet of South Vale acts as a hub, a safe space that provides various amenities for you to further develop your character. Use the forge to upgrade the weapons and armor you find throughout the world, and the dismantling bench to deconstruct items for materials. The spellcrafting table can be used to increase the power of your magic. Everything from an area of effect freeze attack that stops the enemy in their tracks, to ripping up the ground from underneath their feet with destructive force. Use the trap making bench to upgrade and unlock new traps and gadgets. A nice complement to your arsenal, allowing you the opportunity to catch your enemies off guard. And finally, the alchemy cauldron. This can be used to custom brew a multitude of mixtures, from replenishing health and restoring stamina to curing yourself of nasty status effects. These concoctions are sure to aid you on your journey. Okay, great. So you've equipped that shiny new helmet, purchased that slightly overpriced magic spell you always had your eyes on, and upgraded that new polybuster barrel to the volatile variant that has even more boom. You're ready to get back into the fight, but maybe you want a change of pace. Yes, you're supposed to be the hero and save the city, but heroes need breaks too. Besides, there's a whole world to explore, and quirky characters from all walks of life need your help with their problems.
Then you've come about the job.
You might find yourself involved in a murder mystery, helping a local peacekeeper catch the criminal behind the death of her beloved friend. Or maybe you're on a mission to rid Vahrin of the Gnomi scourge that plagues the city, all because a crazy guy in an outhouse called you a hero?
I know the truth!
Maybe we should stick to the main task at hand after all. Vahrin's Call is soon to release on PC with full controller support, with the aim of releasing on consoles at a later date. Our game is inspired by classics like Fable and The Elder Scrolls, so if this sounds like your kind of adventure, consider heading over to Steam and adding it to your wishlist to stay up to date with us. Until then, we'll see you mercenaries soon.
first question I had was, how hard is this game going to be? Because the most common question about the original Outward was, okay, this is like, does it have to be so hard?
I actually got to play the game in the alpha version, and I got my ass kicked.
I'm glad.
Deserved.
But it's actually amazing. Like, I actually really enjoyed it because exploring this game felt very rewarding, and there's like a camping system, so you can camp like right outside like the enemy zone, and then you prepare like your weapons and everything to wreck the enemy, because if you don't prepare, you're in trouble.
It's known to be a very, very hardcore survival, and when I was talking to Guillaume, he was like, if you die, it is likely your fault. And we all heard him say, like, it's not hard, but it is demanding. And they always at all times want to live up to those words, which is really awesome. And they will have a pack mule, which he said, of course, shocker, can die if you don't take care of it.
Of course.
But it's, one of the big struggles was with inventory and spacing along other struggles that players had to really try and, play out this game. Like you were saying earlier, you can't dilly-dally in this game. You have to really know what you're going to do, and eventually you'll get a hang of things. But another big one was dual wielding. So you can dual wield, he says, anything in the game. You can even double shield it up, which he says is not recommended.
You can attack with the shield, it's super cool.
He really loves to stress all of these niche things.
Yeah, there's a lot of
like you can sprain your ankle, you can perforate a lung.
Trauma.
She has clearly sprained. You can sprain her.
I also got brain damage.
You can have a concussion. It will all impact you, and all of these ailments like take different lengths of time to recover from.
I got a concussion in game as well. It was really tough.
As well.
What were you doing out of game?
It was kind. No. It was just kind of like a play on, because whenever I told people I got a concussion, brain damage in game, a lot of people in my chat was like in game.
Sounds like the most hardcore of hardcore survivals.
It was really fun, and you can also play with friends, and then things become a lot more bearable.
They've showed the split screen.
Yes, you can play split screen with your friends, and it's really nice. Especially because then, like, you get beaten up, and then your friends get beaten up, and then you know.
can get digital concussions together.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Forsaken Realms, Vahrin's Call. We were all sitting here saying it looks incredible.
It looks sick.
Most importantly, controller support. I can play that one.
I was trying to put my finger on what the vibe was, and at the very end of the trailer, they say inspired by games like Fable. They really struck an interesting vibe. It seems like it's got a lot of soul and heart in it.
We've talked about music a lot today. I just want to say that was something I noticed right there. That flute, there's something about a flute. When a flute starts playing,
when the
flute fantasy game, dude.
When the flute started playing, he was like, oh my God.
I'm ready to go to war.
No, the game looks really nice. It looks very well detailed, and I can't wait to try it.
They angled it that like, hey, you can do this thing. You can really focus on combat and the main quest line, the main story, but this is also an expansive world where there are a bunch of little side stories where you can go to these individual side characters and like help them catch their chicken. Or murder mystery or whatever it is. And I feel like that's what builds out a world and makes it feel more full. So I think it looks great. Third, we had Dragontwin. I don't even know if we're...
Let's ride!
Dude, you can make your own dragon. There's a correct decorator for your dragon.
Did you see the neck customizer? I mean, like Jake was like...
To be fair, is very early in production. They're working on all these systems for Dragon Flight, and as they mentioned in the trailer, it's still a work in progress. They're like finding the game and what it's gonna be based on funding, Patreon support, things like that. But I mean, just like imagining the vision of a kingdom builder where like you're in command of dragons like Khaleesi, like inject that into my veins. It's another one of those games I didn't know I needed or wanted, but
never even came across your mind. You're like, wait a second.
Well, you see, and you're like, of course.
Yeah. Of course I need
awesome.
that.
You know?
I can't wait to see how it progresses because it already looks amazing.
But they left the combat pretty open-ended. Like we saw some battle scenes, we saw some light with other dragons maybe fighting, and how that's going to come into play. I'm really curious
about. The movement, I mean, you're going to get some battlefield pilots.
It's
so cinematic.
The cinematic shots you're going to get with that dragon is going to be crazy.
Next up, we have some exclusive content coming from Munfish, a comparison of the twins from Atomic Heart, now in the cube, a very exciting game I think we're all looking forward to. And for Atomic Heart, some new screenshots from their DLC number 4. On top of that, there is also Immortal Gates of Pyre that we had an incredible interview with that Jake hosted, where we talk a little bit about the making of the game, the people behind it, and RTS in general.
Is it recording?
Yeah, it is.
It's in the sky, a giant cube. I can still barely believe it myself. When it showed up, I was in the lab. I didn't even see it. You know? I felt that same fear, though. A terrible sense of my own powerlessness. How did the whole of humanity miss it? And did we actually miss it? What if the cube didn't appear, but revealed itself? What if it was always there, and we've only just started to see it?
So Immortal Gates of Pyre is an attempt to modernize and make more accessible the RTS genre while simultaneously keeping all of the complexity and the opportunities for mastery that have made RTS so popular over the years. So it's I would refer to it as a Blizzard-style RTS, the fast action, big battles, very tactical, kind of very rapid-fire chess. We realized that RTS, in part because it was dominated by a few big players, never really went through the kind of indie transformational experimentation. Some of the companies that tried to do so did so by stripping away features or losing some of the things that really made RTS great. In the early days, we surveyed a lot of players in both MOBA and RTS communities and found that they really loved the fantasy of commanding an army. RTS, at the end of the day, if you were to strip it all away, is just you're commanding an army, another guy's commanding an army in real time.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get individual unit control, it can be very overwhelming. And because you're also building those units, because you're building a base, because you're having to do so much macroing along with the microing simultaneously, that for most players, it just gets overwhelming and complicated. And so we worked through it kind of line by line, trying to figure out what are the rote tasks, what are the things that players are required to do that are not really decisions, that are more just chores, right? And how do we make more and more of the complexity in the game, but optional, opt-in? We refer to it as opt-in complexity. And then simultaneously, how do we create a world and experiences and game modes that people want to be a part of? We want to take this genre and show people this genre isn't dead. People want this fantasy, they want this experience. A lot of it has to do with things like the UI and the UX, the unit design, and a lot of that opt-in complexity. So, for example, in most RTSs, you always have to be building workers. If you're not building workers, you're falling behind on your economy and you're screwed. The correct move with very few exceptions, is to build a worker every chance you get. So we made that automated, but have a toggle. If you want to turn it off, you can. So if you're trying to do a specific timing attack, you can, but we took that complexity away. One of the other things is how in MOBAs you have a unified command card, right? All of the abilities and castable abilities on your hero are easy to reach. You can hit all of those buttons very quickly on one hand. We redesigned the UI UX to be the same way. So you can select your whole army with one button by default, and then all of the abilities, castable abilities of your army are also on that one unified command card. One of the things that people often tell us is that when they watch our game, it looks like an RTS, but when they play it, it almost plays more like a MOBA in terms of how they're commanding their army. Our early idea was if we bring the top, 10 modders within generally the strategy gaming space, if we bring them all together and we say, if we were to come together and build a game that truly is the next generation of RTS, what does it look like? And that's what we set out to do. The 1v1 or 2v2 PvP experiences, they're similar to a StarCraft or a StarCraft 2. Maps, we did redesign the maps and we redesigned the mechanics in a way that 2v2 is actually really, really fun. It's a core support gameplay mode. And players, including pro players, have actually really enjoyed doing 2v2 tournaments. But the ultimate goal is to destroy the enemy's town centers, and so it's kind of a tactical back and forth with counters and strategic snipings and using immortal abilities in clever ways. So it's great for mastery and laddering and skill gain. Ultimately, or at least the goal, is to have other PvP modes that are more casual or more playful, kind of some chaos modes, auto battler modes, things like that, where if you just have 10 minutes and you want to have a beer while doing it, and you want to do something that's a bit strategic, but you don't want to get that sweaty, we want to have those experiences too. That's a big part of the target market that we're looking at, is people that like to be challenged mentally, but don't necessarily want to try to do the crazy APM and don't want to get too invested in the competition. We want to do a full grand campaign. The inspiration for how we kind of want, or how we see the ideal campaign, if we can build it, is very similar to Dark Crusade. It's a grand campaign. You can be kind of any of these different factions and conquering territory and building new and unique stories.
Next up, we have what I'm calling kind of a Western section. We have some new footage from the game Exekiller. That's going to be Paradark Studio. There's Far Far West from Evil Raptor and Erosion from Plot Twist.
Welcome to the world of Exekiller. We are Kasia and Amadeus, the creators of the game.
And this is Gameplay Overview. Exekiller is a first-person action-adventure game that encourages exploration, rewards curiosity,
and never holds your hand.
You play as Denzel Phoenix, an Exekiller, a corporate bounty hunter.
Exekillers hunt down fugitives and reclaim souls from those who try to escape the system.
One of the game's main hubs is the Tower, a massive fortress city ruled by the Aphelion Corporation. This is where you accept contracts, upgrade your gear, and prepare for missions.
Job well done, contract fulfilled.
The game is structured in chapters, and almost everyone begins and ends in the Tower.
Outside the tower lies a harsh, scorched desert. You travel through it in a heavily modified car designed to protect you from extreme conditions such as heat and radiation. Inside the vehicle, you have access to your computer, storage, and a working radio.
From your
survival is core part of the experience.
Inventory space is limited, and every item matters, forcing players to make careful decisions about what to carry and what to leave behind.
Aphelions high-tech systems allow you to hack devices, pick locks, and access restricted areas.
Your cybernetic implants help you uncover hidden elements and investigate the environment. Missions and level design are fully non-linear. There's no single way to complete a contract. Stealth, dialogue, and combat are all valid approaches and can be freely combined.
In Exekiller, every decision matters.
What's it gonna be? Plata or muerte?
Wishlist Exekiller on Steam.
Hi everyone, Robert here from Fireshine Games. I am the Senior Product Manager for Far Far West, developed by the incredible 6-person team at Evil Raptor. Far Far West is a 1-to-4 player co-op PvE first-person shooter where you play as robot cowboys in a weird western world. Work together to kill bosses, collect bounties, and cleanse the lands of the evil enemy invaders. Today, I'm going to talk you through a short, single-round session of Far Far West. Here, we're exploring the Far Far West hometown, an evolving space where you can upgrade your weapons, spells, and character. Once the team is geared up and ready to go, we can pick the bounty we want to hunt and drop into the game. Now that we have dropped into the map, it is time to head to our first objective. We can travel around the map much faster with the use of our trusty horses, which you can summon with the press of a button. When fighting enemies, I can use different firearms and a variety of spells to do damage or heal myself and teammates. Spells and guns can also be comboed together to make their effects more powerful, spread their damage further, or even create new spells. To summon this boss, we need to do the obvious. Launch a nuke at its nest. So let's get this rocket loaded with explosives and shoot it into the sky. When playing co-op, you have to work together as a team to complete the objectives and defend yourself from enemy attacks. Right now, we're throwing sticks of dynamite to my teammate for him to put in the rocket, of which he is actually only catching a few. While carrying out objectives, you will attract the attention of the enemy hordes, who will try and stop you. Now we have the rocket all powered up, let's launch it at the boss nest to really make it angry. This bounty is far from over. Now we have to take the beast down. Let's summon the boss and get this party started. We won and the boss is dead, but we aren't safe yet. So let's get to the station to get the last train out of town. When the train is called, we have to stay alive for its arrival, which is easier said than done when the whole of the Far West wants you dead. We made it out alive. Well, some of us. Which means we get to keep the resources we found along the way. These will allow us to upgrade our characters even more and be stronger for the next bounty. This was just one simple game of Far Far West. There are multiple bosses, maps, objectives, weapons, spells, upgrades, and cosmetics, all unlockable through play. You can play the playtest with your friends right now.
As a parent, you've got one job. Protect your family. Whatever happens, you do it, or die trying. But even if you kick the bucket, you don't stay dead for long.
You reminded me of that this morning. My father, he looked on by. He passed on to the next life.
Next up, we have a very exciting section for people who like competitive games, shooter games. We have an awesome interview that Jake did with the executive producer of the Division franchise. We also have Alpha Response, a game coming from the original creator of Counter-Strike, Min Lee, or Gooseman, whatever you know him as, Last Man Sitting from Pixel Pizza, and Sand Raiders of Sophie by Holygriff.
If you imagine a real world location, the most important city in the United States, Washington, D.C., completely ravaged by a pandemic and struck by the strongest, worst blizzard of all time. And you are going to have to survive and extract the most valuable resources. And of course, that leads us to survivors. So what are we doing? Like, we can't rest on our laurels, our 10-year-old laurels from survival. So we're reimagining it. We're bringing this snowstorm, this weather change to Washington, D.C. And that's something that you've never seen in Washington, D.C. We're going to transform the entire map. We're thinking about it in a very different way with innovations that haven't been seen yet. There's a focus on this to make it such a different feeling experience from the core Division 2 experience. I think we've got something super, super promising here. Survivors is developed with Magnus Jensen, who is the original Division 1 creative director. So this is a guy who lives and breathes the Division. He's so excited about jumping into this type of game mode again. And there is a hint in the title of something that we're going to be doing really differently from everybody else. We always develop with a player in mind, with player types in mind. And I think here we have to acknowledge that the Division 2 has a large player base of passionate gamers. And one of the things that we want to do is really lean into the sort of comfort game of the Division 2. People are happy to jump in, know their way around the controller, know their way around the map. They know how to play this game. So we're going to take that and subvert it a little bit and change the map and make sure that the weather has an impact on you, which it doesn't have in Division 2. So there are lots of little things that we're doing to surprise our core audience. Veteran players, they're going to be surprised. All of these locations that they know by heart, they're going to be transformed. So the Division 3 is in production, right? This is not a secret. It's been announced. It's shaping up to be a monster. I can't really say anything more than that, but this is within these walls in Massive. We are working extremely hard on something that I think will be as big an impact as Division 1 was. There's a team in Paris working on this, and they're putting the final touches on a mobile execution of the promise of Division 1. So, Division 1, New York, pandemic strikes, take back New York. This is a brand new story with mechanics that are really fine-tuned to a mobile phone. Graphically, this looks like a PS5. You may have seen the adverts for it. It looks phenomenal, really, really good. It plays really good. And it has a few innovations. You know, the Dark Zone, this area of atypical PvP. It was an area where, much like other games today, popular games today, you could walk around, you could hear gunshots, go over there, there'd be another agent. You'd approach cautiously, feel each other out, and decide whether to partner or to actually engage in PvP. The whole of the Resurgence map is friendly to other agents. So you'll hear gunshots on a corner. You won't need to be in the Dark Zone. It could be anywhere, and you can group with those people. So PvP is off by default, but being able to group up and to see other agents in the streets, that's never been done in a Division game before, let alone a mobile game.
Last man sitting, is a game where you blast through the environment mounted on an office chair. So you're always on an office chair, and you also have a freaking gun. So movement-wise, it sort of feels a bit like you're skating, but it's also most definitely a shooter.
And you guys also described the game as a battle royale. So does it lean BR? Is it more shooter? Is it a mix of both? How's that go?
So many years ago, during early like prototypes of the game, it was a battle royale game. And it sort of went viral and got like a lot of followings based on some short videos of the game. But then as we developed the game more, we found that we wanted to gravitate away from that a bit. So we saw some limitations with the battle royale gameplay. Eventually the game became more like more of a 4-player chaotic PvP shooter, more like a shooter version of Super Smash Bros., which is like one of our favorite games at the office. There's like different maps. There's different modes also. We worked on the PvP mode. We also made a PvE mode, which is more like maybe best compared to Swarm survival games. So it's more like a lightly narrated story where you go up against your manager and you like go up in the floors of an office building. You have to survive for a certain amount of time. There's more and more enemies coming that become more numerous and more ridiculous as time goes by. There's mini bosses, there's main bosses, and you level up, you get power-ups. And this is where like you can get even more power-ups when playing the PvE game mode. So that's when it gets really ridiculous.
Okay.
And you can unlock, of course, new weapons, new characters, new abilities. You can upgrade your chair, so you can.
That was one of my questions. So
we looked a lot at this like early 2000s aesthetic, which we thought was like really cool. Especially like when we started designing the user interface, we felt like, you know, what if the whole user interface just felt like Windows Millennium Edition or Windows XP, and you have that those little square windows, and you have the font that we all remember. So eventually the game sort of became more of this like 2000s nostalgia type game. We also have a lot of like Counter-Strike players at the office. So that's definitely something that I think has had its imprint on the game as well. Imagine it's 2002 and you're listening to punk music and you're playing on your Windows XP computer. That's sort of the feeling that we want the game to have.
Next up, we have a section that a couple of us are definitely going to be very excited about. This is the 25th year that Jagex has been making RuneScape at this point, which is extremely impressive. I know Jake and I have been playing it our entire lives. We've got old school RuneScape, we've got RuneScape 3, and we have Dragon Wild.
The Trinity!
Right, so 3 games, massive games that have been around for a long time, a lot of people have heard of.
I think we should just give the room to Jake.
I love it here.
Use the bathroom real quick.
This is my favorite part for all you RuneScape fans.
When we all arrived here, the first thing I saw was Jake on his laptop and RuneScape was pulled up next to Twitter.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Did you see how Hunter has like a side monitor just
he does this.
Really? I didn't know that. That's These guys are real fans though.
I'm north of 1800 now.
I'm over 2100.
I knew that's why I didn't want to answer because I knew you were gonna lead into it. Anyway, Jagex has given us a variety of exclusives across all 3 games. we're super happy to talk about it.
They've done a lot of very impressive things over the past year, I would say. They did Varlamore with Jake's favorite, the Gemstone Crab, just AFK there, it's awesome. Has the Delve with Doom. They have the
Gridmaster.
The Gridmaster this year, which was super fun. I played that one. They also added Sailing most recently, which is the first new skill ever in old school RuneScape. Had a lot of back and forth. My favorite part about it is the fact that they listened to the community a lot with the release of it. The exclusive they gave us was this new logo reveal for the next League season. So that was League 6 Demonic Packs. We don't know much more past that. Obviously, Leagues is a lot of fun and probably the most engaging time periods of RuneScape. I think you see player peaks every time. So I imagine a lot of those WoW players are gonna come back and be a part of that. Outside of that, RuneScape 3 was also in the news a lot this year.
For a variety of reasons. One of the biggest ones being they've removed the biggest monetization methods they had in the game, which was widely talked about and has been for probably next to a decade. You know, obviously in the MMO genre, you have to make money to sustain such big games and big servers for a reason and to keep these updates coming. They're not small teams. And so it was that community battle of like, we need monetization, but at what point is it too much monetization? And they finally reached that breaking point.
I think we also have some reveals of some of the areas they're revamping, which is very cool. They're trying to declutter the entire world because right now the game, if you, as an old school player, log on, you're probably like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Most of the time. So that's very cool. They also gave us the image of their anniversary cape, which looks fire.
Isn't that beautiful? And I actually have one behind me.
This is Jake's Avengers Endgame.
Oh, man.
And then finally, we also had Dragon Wilds, which is a game that we are very excited about.
Another incredible game.
We are big fans of those types of games.
Yep.
Valheim, we spent a ton of time on. So when RuneScape announced this, we were super stoked personally and played it. They're in early access, but they talk a lot about their 1.0 release and everything that's coming.
For those unaware, Dragon Wilds is the survival game inspired by RuneScape. And so being a big survival game guy and my love for RuneScape, it was kind of the mixing of both worlds. So Dragon Wilds was always gonna be a big thing for me. And as you said, it is early access, still developing. They are aiming for that full release though. It's still a great game and getting better and better.
If you like games like Valheim or Enshrouded, I would say this is the kind of game
100%.
You would like to play because it's just like that. You can spend a ton of time building your house and making it better and better. And then they're also adding iconic RuneScape things. Again, we talked about that with like the cube. It's cool to see a world you already love in another format.
The fresh twist.
Yeah. They already have released their roadmap, but we have a lot of cool stuff that is coming to the game that RuneScape players will recognize. New skills come out at each time, so fishing, prayer, agility. You're gonna get mithril armor, rune armor coming out. There's 3 new regions next year coming with the 1.0 update like over time. And then we got the first look at Dowden Reach, which is their next region. You're gonna recognize these Black Knights, which look a lot scarier than from,
he's not gonna make it
from RuneScape. If this is the Black Knight's fortress, it looks absolutely incredible.
Incredible.
You think it's gonna be a lot of fun? Right.
I don't know if I'm gonna continue after this segment.
You guys have heard me and Jake talk way too much about this. We also have a message from a couple of creators that you might recognize from the RuneScape community.
RuneScape and Jagex has just turned 25 years old. And the recent year has actually been incredible. And what is to come over the course of 2026 and beyond is something that, as a player myself of RuneScape for 23 years, I am so excited. I think the game right now, old school RuneScape, is in the best place it's ever been. But Jagex as a company is turning into potentially being the best they have ever actually been. In 2025, over old school RuneScape, we didn't just have many different pieces of content such as Sailing, Varlamore, Royal Titans, a duo boss that came to the game. We actually also hit an all-time high player count since the game actually released over a decade ago. That is crazy. It's absolutely incredible. But that is not the end. We still have 2026 to come, and the things that are coming in 2026 are going to be crazy. We have the Blood Moon Rises. We'll be getting more info at the Winter Summit. The finale, potentially, of the Mauritania questline. Personally, the thing that I am the second most excited for, behind Raids 4. Now, Raids 4, I know nothing about right now, so I can't really say much, but that is the thing I am the most excited for and have been the most excited for years to come as of right now. And if that is not everything, we have League 6. And I know one thing about League 6, and that is League 6 Demonic Pacts. All I can say. That's all I know right now. But League 6 will be coming most likely in Q4 of 2026. Can't fact check that. I do not know. But that means League 6 may contain Blood Moon Rises and Raids 4 inside of whatever League 6 is going to be, and that is going to be incredible. As for RuneScape 3, I'm not a huge player or ambassador of RuneScape 3. I am more on the old school side, but there is a massive update that occurred earlier on that I was able to get behind, and so did all of the old school RuneScape community and basically anybody inside the community. And that was the removal of a microtransaction called Treasure Hunter. And finally, RuneScape Dragon Wilds. I played it when it first came out with Ashenvale, I believe it was called. And in the most recent expansion, Fell Hollow, I recently have played that one as well, and I have completed it. And Dragon Wilds is a game where it's not even fully released. But when I say that, 2026, Dragon Wilds will be fully released to everybody, completely done. But you can play it now. You will only just get the first 2 expansions. And the first 2 expansions as a standalone game is incredible. I cannot wait to see the expansion to the entire thing when we get the entire world, the entire universe of what's going on there. So far, the gameplay is incredible. Whoever's working behind that team, honestly, I feel Dragon Wilds, when it's released later this year, I don't know when, again, it's going to be a masterpiece when it's fully done, when you can start a new character, go through Ashenvale, go through Fell Hollow, and then go through the next 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, whatever level of different realms there's going to be. But you can still play it now, early, and you can play the expansions as they release. Right now, we have Ashenvale, we have Fell Hollow, and we will be getting another expansion fairly soon into 2026, and that will be the release of the Mithril, and I think the Fishing Skill. Honestly, Jagex, 25-year anniversary, the game, the company, everything, it's looking good, and I'm very, very excited for the future.
And if you guys haven't yet, make sure to go play RuneScape, one of the greatest games of all time.
Next up, we have a group of 4 games, that being Darklight Survivor coming from Mirai & Co., Tape 101 coming from Serversa, and Unawake from Reality Art Studio, Nested Lands from 1M Bits Horde.
You're dead. Bring out your dead.
You smell like shite.
you're dead.
For eternity, I struggled to become an aspect of courage, freedom, and honor. So much for the glory of angels.
Let it in. Let it burn your flesh. Let it burn your soul.
Next up, we have a very exciting segment where we actually got to sit down with the executive producer over all of the Warhammer 40k series, as I understand it, Anatoly Shestov.
By enemies from within. By enemies from without. By enemies from beyond.
Imagine you're playing inside Warhammer universe by the guys who can't use the army, who need to find this particular person in charge of bad things to make Imperium stand for one more day before grumbling to dust. That's basically how I would describe it. Just imagine the true Warhammerish stories where no choices are good, but you don't have an option to go away. You need to get your hands dirty, and it's just a matter of how precisely you will achieve this. One of the most significant changes that any player would experience compared to the Rogue Trader would be more stakes, more value in a surrounding, in any environment that you're playing with. The covers, the line of sights, we read how they are calculated, how they are working, and how much benefit they providing to the party. So it's basically would be more playing around the environment. We abandon the step-up mechanics. So if you're ending your turn behind some wall, you are behind some wall. There won't be one circle around you that allows you to step up of this cover and to shoot at anything. If you so The place where you start your turn, the place where you're ending your turn would be more significant. Other thing is role-playing model. There are way more roles being made inside the combat. Lots of the things making you roll something, lots of the things make your opponents roll something, so it's not just your weapon skill or ballistic skill, it's way more significant influence of the role-playing choices that you've made previously. Almost all of the combats in the game will have alternative ways to finish them, not just killing all of your enemies. We are allowing player to target specific parts of the body of the enemies, and by doing this we're allowing to make your opponent lose an option to move or lose an option to use abilities. There are different ways how you can tactically approach your desire, your design of how to proceed with the combat. And of course there is a whole new subsystem that came on a change of the momentum. This is a morale system. Momentum was a party-based, and you spend it to activate some heroic moments of your companions. For the Dark Heresy, we feel it need to be more intimate, more personal, and not just for your party. We are not just telling a story through the environment or the words of in the dialogue. No, we're actually making cases. We're actually making the culprits. We're actually collecting and interpreting evidence and discussing them with your retinue and analyzing them and making conclusions. There are some other mighty forces inside the scintilla because you're not playing in a vacuum and you need to struggle for power. But most of the time, you are playing as a person in charge, as a person that have authority, and the person who need to make hard choices. One of the most significant ways of the influence of a story for Dark Heresy would be your decision of which case is more important. For example, there is under Spire slums, and this is a toxic waste. And the level of the toxic sea is growing. And if you're going there as a first place, there will be toxic waste somewhere nearby. And there will be people getting ready to be consumed by the toxic waste. But if you are going there late stage, there will be actual toxic sea, and you will be playing around it. There will be changes in the geometry, changes in the combat encounters of how they are playing, changes in the narrative behind this, and changing based on the timings, how you decided how you approach this.
To venture forth into darkness and bring the light of the Emperor to the uncharted void. All must be cleansed in his name.
Is there anything you can tell us about like new factions, new notable characters, or iconic Warhammer 40k lore?
There would be Treason, I don't know, most iconic thing that you can potentially name and encounter as a rogue trader, as a Treason. It would be some interesting takes on Astra Militarum. I won't share specifics not to spoil the fun, but it would be there. And there would be some brand new systems, like augments ones. You will be able to replace some parts of your body with interesting pieces of Imperium technology. There would be some elaboration on a story of the world behind the main road of the Inquisitor Calcasar's shenanigans. Let's say it like this. It would be some interesting dive on a past of the von Valancius dynasty, even further than Theodora. There would be some new takes on how dangerous wildlife can be. Other thing that definitely we will provide for the player is some vaults, the Treason vaults. some collections of pretty wild things being gathered by this Necron. Of course, this is a rogue trader story, and rogue trader is kind of part of his void ship, so there would be some expanding of the void ship, some new places to visit, some old places to revisit. It would be new companion with a whole set of unique mechanics inside it. It would be the general system of augmentations provided to the players, so if you always wanted to replace the limbs of the Heinrichs with some like pretty adamant ones, you will have such an option. Not just Iron Hands from the Biomonsi, but the real Iron Hands. Yes, that's an option. It's the first DLC that allows us to expand the late game parts of the Rogue Trader, and expand it not mechanically, but expand it in a 100% of the different aspects of the game.
Next up, a few games that I would consider kind of couch co-op games that I would have fun sitting and playing with people, like at a party or with my family. This is going to be Towerborne, coming from Stoic and Xbox Game Studios. We have Sprint City from Double Dutch Games. These are the creators of Speedrunner, and Denshattack, coming from Undercoders.
I would describe this as a brawler meets action RPG. This is an awesome entry into the brawler space as somebody who tends to play a lot of RPGs and MMOs. So I have a lot of brain space and like, I want to make really cool builds. A little less so in like, how do I actually dodge and get out of things and find my openings? Early on, I was able to kind of compensate for that by finding nice little gear and little pieces to put together to eventually build my brawler skill set. And I find myself kind of going back and forth as we play test between like, oh, I'm finding something that's a little difficult here. Well, what can I do with my gear set in order to tweak things? Or like, is there a different skill that I should pick up for this particular encounter? And then be able to go dive right back in. The player is an ace, which is a deathless defender of humanity, which is currently sequestered away on the Belfry, which is McLaren's background over there. It's a tower that was set up for mysterious purposes, but turned out to be a pretty good haven for folks after the fall of their stronghold, the City of Numbers. The player is helping humanity as they can, getting refugees to safety, battling the beastkin that have risen and have become incredibly aggressive, while ultimately attempting to find out why did numbers fall and what conspiracy is still brewing there.
We wanted players to experience a brawler type combat inside like a Diablo style RPG gear sort of system, and so we've spent a lot of time over the last 6 months or so taking a ton of feedback from our players to really kind of hone that particular system. So players should be able to come in, pick one of the 4 classes that we have. They'll see a whole new set of skills. They'll find a whole bunch of new equipment. And the idea should be that they should feel like one of several heroes going in and just beating a bunch of like awesome monsters. We've tried to add new enemies, new lieutenants, and new bosses. I think people are gonna feel like quite the adventure as they go into the updated version of Towerborne. Stoic has always tried to be player first. When we decided to do early access for Towerborne, a lot of that was born out of we had a vision of trying to evolve the brawler into something bigger, something that hadn't really been done before. You can see other games have taken different routes. Some have taken kind of the roguelite route, some stayed into the traditional. We wanted to kind of expand it to more like the true action RPG. And in order to do that, early access was very, very important to figure out what was going to work and what wasn't. Simultaneously, we didn't want to be caught in early access limbo, right? Like, I'm sure this is the kind of things that you would love to talk about. I love to talk about them too. How do you not stay in early access for 7 years? Our intent and purpose was we need to come out of early access solid. And there is a certain point where you just collect everything most of the feedback that's coming in either kind of falls into an existing category. Hey, a lot of people have said this thing. Maybe you might get something new, but you look at it and you're like, yes, it's new, but it's not reaching the, kind of urgency that some of these other things are. We have a good list of things now. This is kind of what the players have told us. We need to really deliver on that. And the best way we can deliver on that is just, put your head down, focus, and create an experience that I believe is worthy of coming out of early access, that people should look at that and say like, oh, okay, I see why you did it. Absolutely was worth it. I can see a clear night and day difference between what is in live right now and what I am receiving when you go into the 1.0.
One of the big pieces was that folks were big fans of certain pieces of actual gear that you would earn through the game. But there was no cosmetic version of that. And so you had to make the choice of like, do I want to look good or do I want to look a little janky but more powerful? And so we added the ability to be able to create a cosmetic version of the gear that you earn through writs, which are earned through completing adventures.
And so the idea initially with Towerborne was we just want to make a fun beat 'em up with a light story in the background. We weren't really going to lean into kind of the stoic narrative strength that we have, and we just kind of wanted to take a bit of a breather. And we had expected, perhaps incorrectly, that the community would see it for what it is and be okay with it. But it turned out a lot of people were like, wait, you have something very interesting in the background here. We actually really want to know what's going on. We really would like something more clearly leading us through. And so we've spent a very significant amount of time and resource to put a narrative from the jump. And so there's an arc now. There's a primary antagonist. You will understand that antagonist. You will confront that antagonist, and there will be resolution. And so there's probably a 12 to 20-ish hour story arc now in the game that players can look forward to and feel like there's a resolution to the Towerborne.
Hello, we're Undercoders, and in the studio based in Barcelona. Recently, we've been focused on developing 3D platformers, but our studio is heavily influenced by arcade classics, Japanese culture, and extreme sports games. And Denshattack is our dream project, a step forward for the studio combining everything we love. In Denshattack, you'll discover a not-so-distant future Japan in which local railways have been abandoned and are now used by underground gangs to compete in illegal contests of train acrobatics. You'll have to rack up points by chaining tricks, explore huge levels, race against rival crews, and uncover a wild story as you travel through Japan taking the railways back. We are making a game that is not just about what you do, but how you do it. It's expressive, stylish, and totally up to you. From our first trips in the late 90s, we've been obsessed by traveling across Japan by train and being able to dive into the local culture, getting to know the architecture, the landscapes, the folklore, and we're always captivated by the sheer contrast of their peaceful countryside and the high energy of its huge cities, which somehow feels connected and part of the same cultural rhythm. It's a never-ending source of inspiration that has been fueling our creative energy throughout all the years and has now materialized in Denshattack. On your adventure, you'll find a variety of challenges to move forward, from trip-pack arenas to compete for high scores, to objective-based exploration levels, and even racing circuits.
The world is packed with a bunch of unique characters from different gangs and personalities that you will have to face on your journey through Japan. And with every new challenge, you will grow as a Denshattacker and further add to the chaos. We've handcrafted every stage from the ground up, pulling from real-world locations to make every landscape different but recognizable. You will go really fast, but if you look closely, you'll catch references to every corner of Japanese culture.
You'll be fighting wild boss battles against gang leaders, which will test everything that you've learned. These are always full of surprises. You'll never know what secret technique your rival hides, so you'll have to get creative to overcome them with your train. They're a mix of spectacle, personality, and challenge that one could expect for an anime-style showdown made game. Denshattack is a love letter to anime, skate games, and Japan's iconic train system. If you like Jet Set Radio, Tony Hawk, or Densha to Go, you can't miss this train. Pun intended.
Wishlist now. We can't wait to show you more.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Denshattack. It's the best game in the world.
See us.
Hello, we're Undercoders. Hello, hello.
Wishlist now. Wishlist now. We can share. Wishlist now. We can't wait to show you more.
Okay, now we have a set of beautiful games, in my opinion. This is going to be Eternal Life of Goldman from We Appy Studio and THQ Nordic. We have Duskfade from Weird Beluga in Fireshine, and another Fireshine game with Pugstorm called Core Keeper.
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean he smashed?
What do you think? He fell from a great height.
Yeah, but he couldn't have... did he really die?
I imagine he was crushed to a pulp. Do you think they'll ever find his body?
Mom!
Okay. I was just making sure you were paying attention.
Do you want to die?
Really?
can't turn back time, my star. It'll be different, but you'll both be okay.
Next up, we have Shadow of the Road coming from Owlcat as well, with Another Angle Games being the dev. There is Starfinder from Epic Tellers, as well as Gallipoli from Black Mill Games.
Citizens of Nippon, a new dawn rises upon your land. Through progress and technology, we bring prosperity to all. Your nation ripples with mutiny. But our technology will protect your peace. Peace demands the sacrifice of those that stand in the way of progress. On behalf of your glorious Emperor Mutsuhito, we will bring light where there is darkness. Together, we march into a brighter tomorrow. For peace, for progress, for the Empire.
This is Ricard Pillosu, and I am the co-founder at Epic Tellers Entertainment. I'm here to tell you about our first game, Starfinder Afterlight, licensed from Paizo. At its core, Starfinder Afterlight is a party-based RPG in a universe that mixes technology and magic. We focus on creating great storytelling inspired by movies like Guardians of the Galaxy or shows like Firefly. While in the game you will create your own character, in the demo you play as one of the companions, Sterling.
So you give orders? Naughty.
Thanks to the success of our Kickstarter, our game will have full voiceover. The dialogue system is the main way to introduce the player to the lore of the world.
If you have the sudden, weird feeling of being naked, it's Lou. Her gaze is like an X-ray machine. By the looks on her face, she either thinks you're a joke, or it's her favorite song playing.
That was our narrator, Roger Clark, known from the Red Dead Redemption series, giving the right space western feeling we're looking for in the game.
Yeah, sorry to ruin happy hour for you, but I have bad news about the big one and the runt. Don't worry, I promise not to say I told you so.
Lou here is referring to Taiko and Cole, our friends, that, after a heist gone wrong, should meet us here. Lou seems to know something about them. If you push Lou about the information she's skipping, she's going to be annoyed, and that will lower your approval with her and limit your potential romance options.
hotshot. I own the info. I choose how to deliver it. All right. They were ambushed at Sekubot offices. They knew they were coming, so now the odd couple needs our help. Happy now?
We start the combat right away. The security robots are looking for us and are waiting outside the bar.
Time for my close-up.
The game uses the battle-tested system of Pathfinder 2nd Edition with 3 actions per turn. Lou already starts in a very good place. She's a support character, so it's better for her to stay behind. She will use the ability Get Them to give a bonus to Sterling when he attacks a specific character, and then shoot again. Now, for Sterling, what makes more sense is to close our distance and use our energy weapon. Combat, we decided to stay away from a grid-based system that gave the feeling of a tabletop simulator.
Time for my close-up.
This is it. The team is in full production to release the first 10 hours in early access for summer next year. We cannot wait to show you more. Thanks for watching.
Gallipoli is a hardcore multiplayer first-person shooter set in the Middle Eastern theater of World War I. It features authentic weapons, locations and factions that you play with 50-player servers. How we approach it is we have a unique blend of arcade where we don't compromise on is picking the locations. Those are always the actual battles. The weapons, the ones that were actually used, and uniforms that are as accurate as possible and plausibly used. It sets us apart there. We go quite deep on the history, but then again we're more accessible than say some of the military simulators. It's easier to jump into. Game is a bit more approachable. So in that way it sets it apart from another subgenre in the shooters as well. If you wield one of the rifles in the game, the bolt-action rifles, you expect it to be one shot, one kill. The rest of the game is built around that premise. So yes, rifles are one-shot kill, but then again, it must not be the case that somebody goes around the corner and kills the entire team in 1 second. So especially in multiplayer, the fairness concept must be adhered to. So everything is built sort of around making sure that the game feels fair. So there's a balance between in the gunplay that needs to happen, as well as in the way we handle spawning and how quick you are back into the battle. You're very quick to be in combat here. There's other quirky weapons that are part of the arsenals, but these are accurate. They were used. We don't do experimental weapons. We try to stay as accurate as possible when we model them. The locations we picked, using some geodata, a lot of investigation on images, trying to puzzle together how it looked like when the battle took place. When you're under fire, you have a difficulty reloading your weapon, for instance, and that has custom animations to it. So it's quite elaborate. Not a lot of games, if at all, do this, where it's really dynamic based on what happens, and still fair in the way that the rules are predictable. It's not a random jamming system. It's really dependent on what the player does. One of the cooler things is that you can now build stuff together. Part of the game mode will be that you are able to construct objectives and machine guns and other things together. It's kind of like our evolution of the game mode we had in Isonzo, taken to 11, where it's really, you fight over a certain area, and once it's captured, you have to construct things together and then to consolidate your position, to secure it.
Okay, now our final section we have here, a very exciting, a very cool one, if I had to say and use the word I haven't used so far. For the first time, a very cool section here. First up, we have Where Winds Meet, a game that obviously is already out.
I love it!
But we are getting a brand new boss coming to the Western version of the game in Dinoblade, coming from Team Spino. Incredible looking game. And we also have exclusive interview content with Crimson Desert.
Does the moon or the south still shine bright?
Based on the trailers and based on a bunch of things that I've seen about this game, you can clearly slay dragons. Is that true?
There are dragons in the game, and you do fight them. We haven't revealed just yet whether or not you can actually slay them, but you can fight them, you can fly them.
Can you lay them?
I'm sorry to the Lua fans, but at this point we're not confirming whether or not there's dragon relations.
Could you speak a little bit to how big this game is?
We've been seeing some news out there with some specific numbers floating around about how big the map is. I don't think numbers really do it justice because how big is that in terms of scope and scale? But what we can say is the world's at least twice as big as the open world and playable area of Skyrim. It's larger than the map of a Red Dead Redemption 2. Open world games are about doing things, having activities, having distractions. So we wanted to create a world that's not only massive, but is also incredibly interactive. Obviously, you and your community, Lua, care a lot about romance systems. This is not that type of game in terms of RPG elements and decision making. What it is, though, is you choose the type of character that you want to play as in terms of your progression within the systems in the game. And then through basically headcanon, you're having this very different experience than other players because of the scope and scale of the game. You'll be distracted by something, you'll go on this quest line, you'll have an experience that'll be radically different than someone else, even though they're playing the same game. The guiding principle for the game is around empowering the player and not forcing them into specific choices. There's a lot of time between now and launch in March for us to be able to elaborate on those systems, show people if they have, say, I have an hour to jump in and play this game after work, what is my experience going to look like? So we've done a little bit of showing when you're not in combat, how you're taking advantage and interacting with the world, harvesting resource, gathering them for a whole crafting system that we have in the game for equipment, as well as
You can build your house, apparently.
there is a house. The world is made to be interacted with, and that's also how you learn about the world. So by talking to NPCs, by picking up chickens, then you've learned and your codex will have been updated about the chicken.
What about things that go beyond like fighting? Is there like puzzles? Is there like different types of quests?
That's a great question. One of the things that we showcased, we had a team over to Korea to do a deep dive kind of behind the scenes last September. They came out and we showed them a glimpse of a bunch of different systems. One of the systems that we showed them was in what we call the aerial abyss. It's those sky islands that you see there. That's a very important and pivotal part in the story and quest and mystery surrounding the world. In those sky islands, there are puzzles. They all have a different vibe, if you will, and then treasures and rewards for completing them.
When can people get the game? Where can they get it? What does that look like for you guys?
The game comes out on March 19th across basically every platform. It'll be available on consoles on PS5, as well as Xbox Series X and S, PC, as well as natively on Mac.